Hey guys, this is Eric Weingart with Weingart Racing. This is another video over the internet ports heads, although this one I haven't posted in such a long time. You guys haven't given a suggestion, at least I haven't had a chance to go back and read them. So I just worked on a port and I'll show you what I did. In case you're wondering what's this all about, go back and watch my videos over the, it's called the internet ports heads. And this is a FlowTech LS3 head, and I've done a bunch of stuff that the internet wanted to see done on it. Probably the one most people have seen is the dimpled one. That one's got a ton of views. I have stopped answering questions and comments on that thread, so if you subscribe and you're like, you never answered that one, you're right, because there's too many on this thing. And it's either like this: well, your dimples are not tight enough, they're not uniform, that's a golf ball. And I don't have time for that. I was just showing you. You can do whatever you want. But anyway, not to tease those people. Anyway, this head's been kind of a little bit of a project with me, and I'll go ahead and warn you, in this video, you're going to hear me drop the F-bomb because it quite frankly frustrated me, but sorry about that. So if you got kids, you might not want to watch them. Although, let's face it, what under the age of 14 kids watching this video? But anyway, here's what's happened, and I'll explain, and I'll even show you the results. I only did the 55-degree port. If you go back and watch, you'll notice that there's different ones. This is the 45 small. If you notice that the monoclay's out because I'm going to put some more epoxy in, or that one. This is the 50-degree one, which got ruined, and this was the one that just got dimpled. There's nothing else done besides I think that's still stock valve job too. This one though has been the highest flowing one in all points, and it's been really well. Well, if you pay attention in the past ones, I just kicked this corner and it picked up a ton, and I hadn't done anything with the short side. So on this one, I was like, I've got 5 minutes tonight. You know, I do these late at night. Let me just give it a shot. And so I did the short side. All I did was blend in what I have. You'll see in a second, and float it. And well, you'll see in a second. And then now that's this way. I thought I'd go ahead and 60 grit it, and so that's what you're seeing here. So you're going to get to hear me do a little not polite words and see what I did. I got a little frustrated. And then I'll show you the results, so you get an idea. But anyway, I guess this is kind of a good video if you want to say what happens when you go from a rough textured port to a smoother port, what actually happens. And that should be a good title for this one. That's probably what I'll make the title, but because that one made a pretty good difference. But anyway, let me edit the next part in, and then you'll get to hear the end part. Well, it's been a while since I've showed you this, but thought I'd get back to work on the FlowTech LS head, and all I did, I haven't touched it in weeks. It's probably a mistake. You almost have to keep working on the same project, or you kind of lose track of what you're doing. Partly it. But I remember the last time I messed with this, I hadn't touched the short side. So this is the 55-degree C one. So all I did, should have known, hashtag didn't fucking work. Sorry I cussed in the video. It didn't pick up. The short side looks beautiful. All I did, just to give you an idea, the only thing that was done, you know, before all the work, the short side hadn't been done. So it had some, of course, where, you know, I grind on the bowl where it left some of the traces here and some here. Not horrible, but just nothing. All I did was thinking, you know, those don't look that great, you know. It'd like to be uniform. It'd probably be better if it was that way, you know. And I gave it a little bit of slope down here. I mean, I didn't take off much on this side at all. Took off nothing on that. Just rounded the peak at the apex. Hopefully you can see it. Of course, my camera shot sucks. Just rounded the peak of the apex, and, you know, blended it into the seat here. And I was like, this is going to be good for, you know, if you CFM wrong. It's down about 4 CFM. Most of the parts, it's the exact same, but it's down 4. If you're like, that looks horrible in there, that's where the, see right here? Okay, let me show the flash. That's where the 2 points meet. They're not gouges, I promise. It kind of looks that way, but I promise you they're not. Camera can't figure out what to focus on, but yeah. So out of sheer frustration, what I'm going to do now, and here's why I'm filming right now, is because I'm going to, you know what, all this has been rough. Let's try smooth. I'm just going to 60 grit it and see if it picks up anything. So we can go, ooh, look what it did or didn't do. And you can tell I'm kind of just, I'm tired. I've been grinding all day after day after day. And I thought, well, this will be fun. This is, right now is not as much fun. Anyway, I was hoping to maybe get it 390. Probably won't happen. But anyway, I'm just going to hit it with some 60 grit and we'll see what it does and go from there. Yes, I port many LS heads, but this one's probably the only one I've so far spent so much time just goofing off on, trying different things. So anyway, let's 60 grit this deal and hopefully it picks up. If not, it's time for some more drastic measures and epoxy. Anyway, here we go. Okay, as you can see what I just did, I told you I was going to 60 grit it, which I did. I'm going to show you where I did it. I only did it on the floor, because if you look at the port, the walls here are still rough. That's how I left them. Only the floor, all the way to the short side where the valve angles are, which I'll show you in a second, are 60 grit. Hopefully you can see better. See what I mean? Right there. It's just on the floor, and it's not even that great. I was just trying to get something done in a hurry. I really didn't think this would make that much of an impact, but you can see how much it made difference it made in flow. Because I have seen where there's been rough textures over the short side, and it hurts flows. In case you're wondering, a prime example, and this has actually been asked in some of the comments, so if you watch my videos, sometimes I answer them in other videos, and this would be one. One of the things is people have said, well, what about CNC ported heads? What happens if you smooth up the CNC lines so they flow more? Yes and no. If you were to smooth like this part and the roof, no. Really what happens is there's a transition line between where whenever they're CNC porting, they call it lollipop, comes in and hits down this side, but it can only go so far and before it hits. So it's usually here, and then it'll get it from the other side. In other words, it comes through this way and starts cutting. And usually there's a transition line right about the apex of the short side. If you were to take your cartridge rolls and you sand that down, that actually does gain flow, but just sanding the rest doesn't. So there's really not much to be gained from just taking the time to cartridge roll all of this. Really, you just need to do the short side, which is what I did. And you're going to get to see, really, because the only difference between the test I just did and this one is 60 grit the short side. That's all. I didn't make it any larger or nothing. You can tell it's even not that great because you can still see parts of it. Let's see what it looks like on the other side. You can see this, how it is on the short side, how it's all 60 gritted. That's all. The rest of the bowl and everything else, still textured. Because I don't want to waste my time to do it, because I really didn't think this was game much anyway. So I'm just showing you guys. All right. Now, let's look at the results. This is going to be somewhat shocking, so bear with me. Also, my printer is a piece of junk. One of my life's biggest problems that I have is that I usually have to retype things on these stupid iPhones, like text and stuff. And the second thing would be the printer. I have more problems with this printer. It's been a real challenge. Anyway, let's go through this. Cylinder 5 is actually where we left off. So if you watch the previous videos, this is what it would be. Cylinder 6 is what I started with at the beginning of this video, which is all I did is reshape the short side. I dropped one side down maybe slightly. I didn't measure the exact amount dropped down. The other side didn't drop down at all, and blended the stuff in. So if you want to know, I dropped this side down a little, that side not at all, and blended it in so it's got a nice smooth and transition. Because as I was grinding this, as you're wondering, it leaves a little bit of a dip here, that's common, and a little bit of dip here. And I never had done anything with it because I was like, eventually I'll do the short side. Well, I did the short side, and this is what I got. So, non-short side, short side. It's pretty disappointing. By the way, remember, forget the 100 number. That is only the 2/2 of an inch valve lift to 1 inch is valid. So if we look, it's down a little, down a little, down a little, about the same, but still down. Exactly the same, down a little, slightly up, down, and down. So you could see why I had a level of frustration, because I could have sworn this would have picked up at least a little, and it picked up nothing and made it slightly worse. So I was like, well, you know what? let's just see if the texture had anything to do with it, which I did. So you just saw what's got done. Again, ignore the 100. This is just 60 grit. Now look how much it gains. So here, it gained almost 1, but you can call those the same. About 2 CFM there, then bam. This is when I knew I had it good. Because look, that was the best number I had at 4 before. This is the best now. Look at this, 323 now at 5. That's beating that. Look at 6, 353, now it's 362. 380, a new high. Of course, it's still dropping off, but it comes back and hits 381, beating all the rest for a peak flow of 387.9, so you can call it 388. I was really hoping to get a 390 number, it just didn't happen. Now, that's pretty good. Pretty happy with that. Ain't gonna lie, I didn't think the 60 grit would make that much of a difference. Clearly it did. So hopefully that helps you. And before I get in this huge argument about burr finish or whatever is better than that, I only did this part, the short side. I didn't do the rest. So I guess eventually what'll happen is just for fun, I'll probably end up flowing it like that, then smoothing it all up to see what happens for flow. But there's some other things I still want to do as well. And I'm going to go ahead and tell you what I'm going to do next, because I think for those who've been watching this long, you have the right to know, you should get to know. First thing, I haven't done, if you remember back when I did this one, the 45, I cut down the guide. I'm probably going to cut down the guide on this now and see if it makes a difference. Because when I did this one, it actually gained a little bit. And that could be for a bunch of reasons. It's taking up area in the bowl. So this one's sticking out so much, I can cut it off and we'll see what happens. Now, each port being so different, I'm not for sure if it'll gain anything, but that's an easy task to do. So I will cut that down. Probably not the next test I do, because I want to do something else first. But I am probably going to cut this down. Also, I haven't done anything with the chamber, so that knocking that out gained a little bit too. So there's probably a good chance that if I take that out and that out, I can hit the 390 range. So maybe I'll do that next, but I really, really want to do the following thing. Move my paper. Move my head back so you can see what I'm wanting to do. What I want to do is I want to put epoxy at the floor here and actually make the short side taller, give it more slope this way, but I want to make it taller and fill in some of this here. Because honestly, this is way too big, unusable. But I want this here and then curve here. So I've got enough area in this section where the pinch is, and then I can maybe make the short side taller, bring this out wider, even more a little bit maybe, and have the same area there and see what happens. Because I really don't like this. In other words, I want to change some of the design. So, but first I probably will knock off this, the guide, and then do the chamber just to see what it does for this port. But I'm telling you, after that, it's getting epoxy. Probably not more grinding, getting epoxy to make this shape better. Now, some of you might be saying, wait a minute, weren't you going to fill in the small one? You're correct. I'm going to go do that tonight. I'm going to start filling in stuff here because I'd ran out of epoxy before. That's why I had modded and clay in it before. Fill this in and see what we can come up with. Because this one, I'm going to try to make the smallest I can and still try to flow between 350 and 360, maybe more. This one, I really would like to see it hit 390, which it may, but I really want to get a shape that I like better, and whatever it is, it is. But I just want to try some stuff and see what I can get. This one's going to be super small. This one will be bigger. It'll just be bigger, but a better shape and hopefully move more air than the super tiny one. Anyway, if you have questions or comments or things you'd like to see in the video, feel free to put it in the comments and I'll try to get back to you and we'll go from there. Thanks for watching. Sorry if it took so long, and you guys take care.